Everyone's rushing to get pure electric cars onto the market right now. We've only just delivered our first verdict on the Jaguar I-Pace. But 6 months from now, Audi's going to launch its rival for that car and the Tesla Model X. And we've come to a studio near Ingolstadt to have a look at the new model, the e-tron. The e-tron is the first pure electric Audi, but its shape is relatively familiar because it's an SUV that's designed to sit between the Q5 and the Q7 in the lineup. You'll see influences from the likes of the Q8, but there are some unique e-tron touches, such as this flush grille, which can close completely when the batteries don't need any more cooling, and, more radically, these aerodynamic cameras, which replace conventional side mirrors.
The cameras will be optional, and they add only a couple of miles to the e-tron's range, but we'd expect many early adopters of the car to order them anyway. They display their information to OLED touchscreens in the door panels, and these panels can also be used to fine-tune the angle. Curb cameras and a slightly wider angle for motorways are also included. Underneath, the e-tron has a pair of electric motors, one on each axle. They can combine their outputs to deliver more than 300 kilowatts, or 402 brake horsepower, for up to 10 seconds at a time. That's enough to take the e-tron, which Audi says weighs more than 2 tons but less than 2.5, from 0 to 62 miles per hour in less than 6 seconds. Audi claims the car will be able to travel up to 250 miles between charges, even under the tougher WLTP test cycle. To maximise range, you can adjust the level of brake energy recuperation through paddles behind the steering wheel.
The e-tron's charging setup is pretty neat. The driver's side gets this flap, which folds down to reveal a DC port that's capable of 150 kilowatts charging. That's enough to get the battery back up to 80% in about half an hour. But you can also spec a second AC charger on the passenger side, in case that suits your parking layout at home. Inside, the e-tron's set to provide usual SUV practicality. There's room in here for 5 adults, and if you include the 60 litres in the waterproof bay under the bonnet, there are 660 litres of load space. That expands to over 1,700 litres if you lower the rear seats. The rest of the cabin, there are familiar features from the A7 and A8, like the twin touchscreens for infotainment and car controls, and every e-tron will get Audi's virtual cockpit as standard. There are some new touches though, like this fixed gear stick here, which has a neat gear selector button on the side.
Audi says it already has 10,000 registrations from prospective e-tron customers, and the company will build the car in bulk at the Brussels factory that used to make the A1 Super Mini. There's no word yet on pricing, but the early indications from Audi are that it'll be well under £70,000, so it should be close to the I-Pace after the government grant is taken into account. Just one version of the car will be offered in the UK at launch, although before long we're also likely to see sport-themed S-Line and fully loaded Vorsprung editions. There will also be styling packs, as on regular Audis, and you'll be able to choose between 19, 20 and 21-inch wheels, with 22-inchers available once Audi Sport launches its take on the car. A performance version does seem inevitable. Audi sources are already indicating that the e-tron's motors are good for higher outputs than their current settings. Audi says it'll start taking confirmed orders for the e-tron in early 2019, with deliveries due by the spring.